E3 is dead, and we killed it. I'm so proud of you guys. This year's non-E3 was slightly better than I was expecting and was definitely better than last year. Sony kicked it off with hyper-realistic Ant Simulator. I've been asking for this for years. Oh, a tree frog. Ooh, a parrot. That almost looks like... Wouldn't it be funny if that was... Electric fence in a swamp. Oh, okay, well that could be anywhere. That doesn't mean anything. Snake? Crocodile? No. There's no way. There's no way. Snake Eater is one of the best stealth action games ever created, bar none. Everything about this game is phenomenal. Story, boom. Graphics, boom. Music. How did they do that? Gameplay. Don't even get me started. This is almost a 20-year-old game and it is still slam dunking on 90% of today's stealth games where you walk up to someone and press triangle or throw beer bottles at a wall. Yeah, I'm Big Boss. The biggest boss of them all. Oh, shit! Nobody heard that? When I saw the trailer for this, I almost died from shock. It is still crazy to think that after years of fake-ass leaks, MGS Remake is an actual thing now. It barely feels real. It's like, what a thrill, you know? It's like I'm still in a dream, and you're so supreme. Recessive genes. I find it kinda hilarious how they just dropped this in the middle like it's not a big deal at all, when this was the highlight of the presentation for me. They're calling it Metal Gear Delta because Delta means 3, which is wrong because it's actually the 4th letter in the Greek alphabet. Really though, in the world of math and physics, Delta means change, and that's what this game is. It's MGS3, but changed. But the symbol for Delta is a triangle which has 3 sides because it's still MGS3. They're trying to emulate Kojima's unhinged madness with the title, setting up these bizarre connections in logic, but as for the game itself, there's still a bit of unknown. The elephant in the room is that Kojima is not and will not be involved, and you gotta remember, this is Konami we're talking about, so there's still a billion ways they could fuck this up. One thing I am expecting is that they rework the controls to be more like a modern third-person shooter, which is gonna be a deal breaker for the purists, but will also lower the bar for entry to people who have never played the game before. I think if the average gamer who has never played Snake Eater attempted to play it exactly as it was back on the PS2, they'd be all like, Kojima, what the fuck is this? To shoot people in MGS3, first you have to pause and put the gun in your weapon slot, then you have to equip the gun by scrolling through the inventory, then you have to hold R1 to go first person, hold square to take the gun out, and briefly release it to fire. Objectively, it's not bad because the game is built around it, but I think the modern L2, R2 gamer is gonna drop into a coma. The other thing that concerns me is the archive footage. The rights to a lot of the historical footage used in the cutscenes have been a contentious topic, with a lot of them having expired, and if you think Konami is willing to shell out the Drebin points to renew the rights, you're crazy. Not even Rockstar would shell out the dosh to renew the music rights to GTA 5, and they make $3 billion a second off of GTA Online. As much as I would love for this remake to be a slam dunk, I'm gonna temper my expectations until we actually see it. The older I get, the more I just ignore things that don't interest me at all, so I'm not gonna talk about every single thing I saw, just the things that stuck out to me, like this game called Baby Steps from the creators of Getting Over It. Now, Getting Over It is a game about a guy in a cauldron trying to climb a mountain of literal garbage while a British dude comes in and starts quoting Friedrich Nietzsche.
I feel within me a peace above all earthly dignity.
Alright, that's enough of this game. Let's play Dark Souls 2. The game is deliberately designed to be infuriating to service a ludonarrative message about the indomitable human spirit in the face of the indifferent cruelty of the universe or some odd shit like that. Baby Steps looks like it's gonna take a similar approach. You play as a pathetic 35-year-old loser with no job, no money, and no bitches who gets off the couch so rarely that he can barely walk. So for the average gamer, this is is gonna hit pretty close to home. Not me though, I'm still in my 20s, I got plenty of time to turn my life around just as soon as I delete my Twitter. Games like this are often dismissed as being cheap YouTuber bait, but there's a real earnestness to the way these guys do it that makes it stand out. They also showed off the plucky squire again. You play as a doodle of a little red bitch who has to jump back and forth between an illustrated world on paper and the real physical world in which the paper exists. It's kinda like Link Between Worlds if Link could enter real life. Final Fantasy XVI has released since this event aired, and from what I understand, it's supposed to be pretty good, unless you don't like it, in which case it's bad. And now you know how opinions work. I can already tell Alan Wake 2 is gonna be a bucket list game for me. I have still not played the first one, but from what I understand, it's a very unique game and there really isn't much else like it. There was a whole bunch of VR stuff that I could not bring myself to care about except for Synapse, which has David Hayter straight up doing the snek voice. I recognized it immediately.
Well, come on then. Let's see what you're made of.
I always smile whenever I hear David Hayter outside of Metal Gear. I guess it's just nice to hear his voice again after all these years. I guess you could say he kept me waiting. And then of course there's Spider-Man. It's always funny to me how Spider-Man is considered to be a straight up video game franchise now. Apparently these games are so good that Spidey can be considered a PlayStation icon. Currently, the only Spider-Man game I played is the PS2 game where you deliver pizza. But the new Spider-Man games are definitely on the bucket list for sure. Even before E3 started, this was already a big year for remakes and remasters. On top of Snake Eater remake and the Metal Gear Master Collection announcement, Resident Evil 4 was remade, Metroid Prime was remastered, and Pikmin 1 and 2 are both remastered and are out on the Nintendo Switch right now. There are no 7-Up logos in this version, which is going to be a deal breaker for the 7-Up boys out there, but they're still pretty good games. And as somebody who was actually around when those games came out in the first place, that's honestly pretty exciting. Of course, this can always go one of two ways. We've seen remakes and remasters that were incredibly faithful and did absolute justice to the source material, and then there was this. There's a rumor floating around currently that Rockstar is remastering or remaking Red Dead 1, which would be great for people who never got to play it back in the 360 days. Considering this is one of the crown jewels of Rockstar's repertoire, it is criminal that this game is not on PC. It is on Xbox, but what kind of cowboy owns an Xbox? Summer Game Fest kicked off with a 2D Prince of Persia. It looks fun, almost fun enough to cancel out the pain of digging out my Uplay credentials. Mortal Kombat got a reboot, and they actually got Claude Van Damme to be Johnny Cage, which they've been trying to do since the 90s. The thing about fighting games is that you can only enjoy them if A, you have the patience and will to get good, B, you have friends that also have the will and patience to get good, and C, you have an Ethernet cable. This intersection of people is the demographic for fighting games. My problem has always been that I don't have the patience to get good. I'm a bit of a rolling stone, so with very few exceptions, I cannot just be confined to a single game for 200 years. Nicolas Cage, who you might remember from the hit movie Willy's Wonderland, was added to Dead by Daylight. It's really cool to see them paying respect to Willy's Wonderland. Sonic Superstars looks pretty fun. I definitely prefer the 2D Sonic titles, and this one just looks incredible. They're even bringing back Fang, which is a character I didn't even know existed until I played Roboblast during the Fangame Marathon. Lies of P has a public demo, and from what I have been told, this is Bloodborne except you play as Pinocchio, which sounds ridiculous, but there's a very artistically brazen undercurrent to the whole thing. I do not know what the deal is with Pinocchio right now. Pinocchio Bloodborne, Disney made a live-action movie that was terrible, and of course Guillermo del Toro made a stop-motion Pinocchio that was actually pretty good. You know what video game series I really like? Banjo-Kazooie. I hope we get a new one of those. Square showed off the next chapter of Final Fantasy VII Remake. The funny thing about Final Fantasy VII is that Final Fantasy is a whole series, but Final Fantasy VII is the main one. It's the one everybody references, the one everybody talks about. This one game is a bigger series than the rest of Final Fantasy combined. There's a 10-part remake series that'll probably be over after I lose 110 pounds. There's a mobile battle royale game. There's a mobile spin-off. Cloud and Sephiroth are in Smash. There's a DoorDash collab or something. And just look at this Wikipedia article. Like, what the fuck? They might as well call it the Final Fantasy VII series at this point. I haven't even played this game and I could name 10 characters off the top of my head. If you remove Final Fantasy VII from the series, I don't even think I could name 5. Kefka, Terra, Chocobo. God damn it. Microsoft kicked off their event with Fable 2. They got the guy from IT Crowd to be a major character in this game, literally. There was a time when putting celebrities in games was special, but now it seems like every second and third game has some big famous guy in it. I'm kinda conflicted on this. On the one hand, it brings more eyes to the game, but on the other hand, it feels more honest somehow to have an ensemble of talented nobodies running the show. Whenever Microsoft holds an event, everybody in my circle is hoping and praying for a new Banjo-Kazooie. Me though, I pretty much gave up on that. Banjo is done, and I have come to terms with this. Rare is, however, continuously updating Sea of Thieves, and they showed off a collab with Monkey Island, which is an ancient point-and-click adventure game for the PC. No Microsoft event is complete without a fucking car. Like, straight up, every single event they've had since 2013, there's a car. I have not fact-checked this at all, but I'm just pretty sure that's correct. This Yakuza trailer instantly sold me. They really mastered the noble art of Austin Powers dick censorship. From an outsider's perspective, Yakuza seems a lot like John Wick, in that the games just keep coming out and nobody complains about it. They just go, oh look, another one, neat. Speaking of John Wick, Keanu Reeves showed off some more details on the Phantom Liberty expansion for Cyberpunk. I'm honestly a little excited for this one. Recently pregnant YouTuber Video Game Donkey said in his E3 video, "Man, no gamer would be stupid enough to buy DLC for Cyberpunk." But that's not true. I am absolutely stupid enough to buy DLC for Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk's disastrous launch unfortunately filtered a lot of people out of what would eventually become a genuinely good video game. Unlike The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk has actual gameplay that is fun and even requires effort from the players sometimes, and they didn't sacrifice any of the top-notch writing and world building to achieve that. And in the years since it came out, the game has been steadily patched and fixed such that it's actually playable now. And that's not to kiss CD Projekt's red ass or anything, but the game is objectively far better than it was at launch. You never get a second chance at a first impression, so for a lot of people, Cyberpunk will forever be that game where people's dicks clipped through their pants all the time and the characters would keep T-posing out of nowhere, whether any of that is still true or not. I've had my eye on this expansion since it was announced, but just to be safe, I'm not gonna buy it until I've actually seen other people play it. I'd like to think they wouldn't make the same mistakes more than once, but this is a video game company we're talking about, right? Clockwork Revolution looks like BioShock Infinite meets Majora's Mask, which is fucking weird. Those two games don't usually go together. You travel through space and time to start some kind of rebellion in the city of Columbia. Based on the trailer, it seems like the kind of game that looks and sounds extremely cool, but could very easily be underwhelming in its delivery. I honestly thought Redfall looked okay before it came out, so always remember, pessimism has its faults, but sometimes things actually do suck. But maybe it won't. I don't know. 10 years ago, Microsoft shot themselves in the foot with the Xbox One's DRM debacle, which, yeah, that was 10 years ago. It feels like it happened last Tuesday, but I'm probably mixing it up with that other time they fucked up. Despite their best efforts, I don't think the Xbox brand ever fully recovered from that, so in a nuclear attempt to save face, they actually bought ZeniMax Media, which is the parent company for Bethesda, so that they can make Starfield an exclusive game. There were people who bought PS5s years ago expecting Starfield to be multi-platform, so for those people, Microsoft just looks like an even bigger asshole. The game is looking more polished than it was previously, and the graphics are better than I would normally expect, so Microsoft is definitely laying the law down with these guys, at least from an outsider's perspective. It is entirely possible that the game will be busted at launch, but at least in the trailers, it appears to be functional. Even though I have never been a Bethesda boy, I am trying to keep a more open mind, so if my computer is still good enough to run this game without crashing, which is a big maybe, remember what company this is, maybe I'll check it out. A widely held opinion I've seen is that unless Starfield is a 20 out of 10 video game, Xbox is pretty much dead because it doesn't have anything else to offer, especially now that Redfall is out and it's really bad. In case you missed it, this company is in the process of trying to buy Activision Blizzard, which is an effort that is currently being blocked on anti-monopoly laws. In response, they are literally trying to argue in a court of law that they already lost the console wars, which is why they should be allowed to buy Activision, which is a studio that was already drowning in controversy, so yeah, this shit is a mess. What's funny about this is that to some extent, that feels just as true of the PlayStation 5. This console has been out for almost 3 years and it has 2 video games. One of them is a PlayStation 3 game from 2013 and the other one is a PS3 game from 2009. My complete lack of desire to buy a $700 game console, it's good for my bank account, but it's not really good for my soul. Console launches used to make me excited, you know, back when game developers could actually put games out on a regular basis. By this time in the PS4's lifespan, that console was starting to pick up steam with competitive exclusives, and back then, that was considered to be a long wait. Today, I don't even know what I'm waiting for anymore. Games are getting bigger and more ambitious by the year, but what sucks about that is that they are taking way longer to make, so the volume of good shit coming out at any given time will never be as dense as it was even 10 years ago. And on top of that, they're spending even more money on the games, meaning that they have to guarantee a return on investment, which might be why it feels like they're so afraid to take risks anymore, which is why every single game is an open world game where you follow a yellow line. There is some good stuff if you're really willing to go searching for it, but is it worth buying a $9,000 game console at this time? Well, I'll talk to my investors about it. And that brings us finally to Nintendo. The latest Direct was highly anticipated because the Smash Fighters Pass ended years ago, and both Tears of the Kingdom and the Mario movie were already out. So we knew from the beginning that they had to give us some big news. Which of course is why they started with my favorite franchise, Pokemon. They gave us an update on Pikmin 4, which was very exciting. I just got done playing the free demo they put out, and even though it's only the beginning sequence, this is already my game of the year. Take a look at the graphics, a little rough in some areas, but for a Switch game, this is beautiful. Pikmin has always had incredible art direction with an impeccable meshing of photorealism and cartoonishness, and it looks better than it ever did in Pikmin 4. There are so many new features that for the first hour of the game it was overwhelming, but once you get over the initial hump you are right back at home in the Pikmin flow. And as you slowly start to realize all the new possibilities for maximizing efficiency and optimizing your strategy, you finally begin to understand why this game took 300 years to come out. You get a little doggy that makes traversal a lot faster and helps you fight enemies. And they brought back the caves from Pikmin 2. All of this was incredibly exciting, and it is absolutely surreal that the game is only 2 weeks away. I am worried about the story though. Without going into spoilery details, let's just say they seem to have made some weird decisions, but I haven't dug very deep into it, so maybe it'll pay off when the full game actually releases. As I mentioned earlier, they also brought back Pikmin 1 and 2 for the Nintendo eShop, which is great for all the new Pikmin fans who never got to play the older titles. I've already seen 15-year-olds on Twitter get traumatized by the submerged castle, which is great. As a gamer, seeing children be really bad at a video game that I'm relatively good at gives me an indescribable euphoria which cannot be put into words. Accessibility is a big topic with video games now, and when I say accessibility, I don't mean that in terms of how approachable the game is, but I mean literally how easy it is to access the video game. A lot of these games were otherwise impossible to get at without emulation, so it's good to see Nintendo, whose track record has been a little bit imperfect to say the least, finally start to pick up their heels on this, and now that the entire Pikmin series is available on Nintendo Switch, they've earned a little bit of respect. Between this and the Metroid Prime remaster, Nintendo has pretty much confirmed that GameCube games will never get a Switch Online style service, which is gonna be sad news for a lot of people. Nintendo went on eBay and saw people paying $900 for a copy of Thousand Year Door and said, oh, we can charge actual money for these games. There was a rumor of a Thousand Year Door remake at the Direct. There wasn't, but you know what there was? Without Super Mario RPG, there is no Paper Mario and there is no Mario and Luigi, so even just for that, this is kind of a big deal. Last time I tried to beat this game, I was playing on original hardware. I got like 80% through and then my save file corrupted because the game is very old. Hopefully with the remake, they can add a feature where the save file doesn't get corrupted. For a while, Mario spin-offs felt very sanitized and safe, like every character design and story beat had to be approved by some soulless corporate body. But with things like Mario and Rabbids, and even to some extent Origami King, it seems like they might be returning to that old weirdo style. Mario RPG is the epitome of the unique potential of Mario spin-offs, original characters, audacious plots, unique worlds that aren't just generic Mushroom Kingdom biomes. And then you meet a purple boob lady who attacks you with her boobs. It's a weird game, and that's what keeps it relevant today. This is easily a day one pickup for me, and it could also be good news as a Paper Mario fan. There has been a lot of talk about so-called Mario mandates, which is effectively a colloquial term used to refer to some mysterious corporate rulebook that prevents Paper Mario from being what it used to be. Information on these alleged mandates is a little shaky and dubious, but the fact that Mario RPG is being remade in a largely uncompromising manner seems to suggest that there's nothing stopping them from signing off on remasters of the old Paper Mario titles or even a newer game in the old style in the future. This is entirely speculation at this point, but I would do straight up nefarious things for a Thousand Year Door remake. There's also an untitled Princess Peach game that they showed 10 seconds of footage for and then went, yeah, alright, moving along. They're bringing Luigi's Mansion 2 to the Switch with upgraded visuals and performance. I'm hoping they can do that with the first game as well. They put Petey Piranha in Mario Kart. That was my boy back in the day, so it's great to see him make a comeback. And then for the grand finale, the elephant in the room, if you will, they announced a 2D Mario for the first time in 300 years. Super Mario Bros. Wonder. For a while, 2D Mario started to feel a little bit stagnant, with new Super Mario Bros. Being milked to the point of atrophy. So it's great to see them actually try to make something that is new. There seems to be a real emphasis on momentum and speed, while also going out of its way to be really, really weird. The true weakness of new Super Mario Bros. Was that there was very little that was unique about the games as they kept going on. Compared to 3D Mario, for instance, where every game is so fundamentally different that they don't make each other obsolete or grow stale, new Super Mario Bros. Made very little effort to refine a rapidly aging formula. Super Mario Bros. Wonder looks like the rejuvenation this series has been dying for years. But only time will tell if it actually delivers on that. It's coming out this October, so yeah, I'm pretty excited. This year's non-E3 is the first time in a while that I actually felt like there was something to look forward to. We got a lot of old games coming back and a couple of new games, things that I actually care about. You never see that. The highlights for me are the Snake Eater remake and Mario RPG remake, but when it comes to the new stuff, I would say Super Mario Bros. Wonder is probably the big thing for me. 2D Mario has had an undeniable impact on the history of video games, so this was very long overdue. But unfortunately, there is still no word on Donkey Kong vs. the Gay Beaver.